not in Sweden. That was one of those experiences I got early in my work in China. Only by being in China. And this travel journey, my own journey, was actually supported by Klaus. The second time I was in China was with Klaus in Chengdu, visiting this university. And that was making me impressed. After that, I started to work as visiting professor, doing projects. Then I realized this is something different that we need to understand. So then we started to discuss how can we create an educational program to promote knowledge among students, because my experience is sometimes grand old people from business life, they're old dogs, difficult to teach, difficult to learn. But young students at university, looking forward a long business life, they might be easier to make learn and teach them and make them experience things. So this is where we started to develop programs, and we started with this Exploring Business in China program, a 2-month-long program. It was started 2 years ago, and we've done it for 2 years now, and hopefully we'll do it for many more years to come. It's a 2-month program, and now we are developing this program, adding internship opportunities to stay in Chinese companies after finishing those 2 months, and also opening up a business development project in China. Why those two lost? Because students from this year, last year, they said, Mike, this is good, but not good enough. We want more. Okay, you want more. Okay, we add more. So thanks to students, we are moving this program into the next level. And we are doing this in 3 different pieces. One is about understanding business in China, doing business in China. The one is technology management, innovation. And innovation is the core of China. But once again, you need to have some basic Mandarin understanding. My Mandarin is lousy. My students speak better Mandarin than I do. After 7 years, I feel ashamed, but that's reality. And the strategy of China is to innovation area. So what we try to do in this program is actually trying to understand the culture of China, Chinese culture, and what it means to do business in China. Innovation, because this is the power of Chinese development. And this is what people in the West think, oh, this is threatening, China 25 or 2030. And the other one is, how do we make business? That means business model innovation for the Chinese context that is different than the Western context, as I mentioned at the beginning. We're also putting in a number of other components. We are teaching students about history of China, about political system of China, about decision making in China, about legal system in China, about financial system of China, about business culture in China, and so on. And we have a quite tough schedule for our students. 3 days a week, we have seminars, lectures, 2 days a week, visiting companies, science park, things like that. This is quite busy schedule. And this is some pictures from last year, 2018 year group. Visiting Swedish Embassy, Science Park, first meeting at Halmstad University, Chamber of Commerce, and Suci Science Park. Suci Science Park is a very small science park, I must admit. Only 800 companies. Only 800. And Shanghai has more than 70 universities, more than 70 science parks. In China, they have about 2,800 universities. So, come on guys, I feel a little bit problematic to tell them that we have a science park in Halmstad too. I rather speak about Sweden as a science park. That's more relevant, 10 million people, but then we can say we have something to give and offer comparing to this kind of system. So this is what we do. So with this introduction, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask our students, Suci, Malte, Andrea, Lasse, please step forward, it's your turn. Please.
Okay, so everyone, thank you for staying so far. I mean, we got quite a lot of insights today and learned quite a lot as well, so thank you very much for everyone for showing up. In the next half an hour, we, so Mr. Malte, Feddersen, Suci, Andrea, and me, Lasse. We'll give you some of our experiences and takes that we got during the 2-month program at Shanghai DNG University. When they say Shanghai and you ask people in Shanghai where the university is, they will go like this. Then you tell them it's in Lingang. Then they are, okay, where's Lingang? You know, Shanghai is a quite big city. And then they're like, well, they have a subway connection which is around 2 hours outside the city. And you're like, okay, so 2 hours outside the city and it's still considered Shanghai. Just to take that in perspective. I mean, 2 hours here and you're in Denmark, right? First of all, Suci is going to talk about people culture and the Chinese culture. Also, since she's from Indonesia, I'm going to give some take on that. Then afterwards, Malte is going to talk about how to build relations in China. Since Malte was a frequent traveler, really embraced the WeChat aspects about China and can give you some insights there. Afterwards, Andrea, who was one of the students who really actively conducted business in China, or at least was trying to, and got a lot of insights there. And at the end, I will talk about the academia, the insights we got there, and kind of bring that back into the BRI perspective. So,
thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Suci. As Lasse has said before, I came all the way to Sweden from Indonesia. If you can see the map, Indonesia is there, and then I flew to Sweden to study my master here. So I basically came to Sweden initially to learn how to study in Western cultures, in the Western universities and everything, and I came and I tried to embrace all the new cultures that I haven't experienced before. Then I'm here in Halmstad University. Then I know that there is a program by Malte that we can try to experience and learn how to have the idea of creating business in China. One is, maybe the interesting part is that I came from Asia and I'm now in Europe trying to embrace new culture. Why I should go all the way to China again, to the same continent where I am. I've been spending the rest of my life before. So I was interested to see that China is a very big population country. It has 1.4 billion, which is quite the same with my country as well. Indonesia, we have 260 million people. So we are on the 4th list of the most populous country in the world. China is the first, India, US, and Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken. So then I think let's just try to go to China and see what's the opportunity that China has. Then I flew to China, and then I think I realized something, that I see China as a mirror, as a self-reflection for my culture. I came to Sweden, I kind of leave all of my culture behind and try to embrace everything here in Western culture, and then I flew again to China and see that actually China is similar with my cultures. And that's super interesting to see, because we are here to learn the business itself and how to make your business successful in every country is to try their culture. And that's, I think, the knowledge that I gained. So yes, the first thing is that as a European, what do you think about Asian? I think the first thing that you might think that especially in China, China has so many people. You can see on the first pictures, it's the rush hour in Shanghai. Every single day, every morning and every evening. See, it's really hard to get into the subway, but it's even harder to get out from the train. Because people try to come inside and people also want to go out. So this is basically catastrophe in Swedish context, I guess. And the second one, you might see a lot of Chinese, Asian, we like to eat lunch together, dinner together, everything together. That might be a bit confusing for you guys, but we just like to be together all the time. And when it comes to education, we like harmony. We should wear a uniform. We should listen to our teacher and listen to whatever they say. We tend to be more in a passive environment of study. We see it all in the one-way interaction. Teacher says something and we listen to them. That's how we try to learn a lot of things. And this is more into the personal territory when it comes to family. We stay with our parents until we marry. Or even sometimes, some people, they have been in a marriage, but they still live together with the family as well. Sometimes there is one house who have 3 families inside of it, so that is more into Asian culture. Next, here is what we think about European. And this is, I think, what reminded me the most before I came to Sweden. I tend to see Western people are super organized. You like to stand in line, wait for other people, but that might be confusing. We tend to think that, why are you being so patient? You don't want to go around and take the first step, or you don't want to sit in the front. Why you always wait for everyone? That's also confusing for us. And the second is the individualism. Western people like to be independent. You tend to think everything by your own. You take decision by yourself, and you don't have this contamination from other people's decisions. So you are more independent in that way. And when it comes to education, in the class, there is active participation between students and the teacher. Teacher can say something, but student can always question. Is that right? Is that wrong? This is what I think. That is something that we don't have in the Asian culture, I think, or in the Eastern cultures. And the last one, from the family perspective, it's really normal here for teenagers, 18, 19, to go out from the house, but that's impossible in Asian cultures. Because we think that, why do you leave your kids out of the jungle when they are young? You should prepare them until they have money, they have the job, they have someone to take care of them, then they will not be alone, they know how to do, then they can also be responsible for themselves and other people. But that's not the case in Western context. So, next. Thank you. I think, and I come to the conclusion where at the end we all have the same value. Why people like to be really in rush when it comes to the getting inside the train or getting out? Because we don't want to get lost. We don't want to lose anything. We want to be fast, and that's actually the sign that we want to have a good life. We want to chase for money. We want to chase for a better living every day. We want to work on something. And that's also the same in Western context, that you want to have a good job, you want to have a good life, and you want to have a stable life. You like to be independent, we like to be together. And it means that comfortable in our context is being with someone else, and comfortable in your context is to being independent. So that's what I learned. People love to be appreciated. In our culture, we tend to see that, yeah, older people, we need to appreciate them by listening to them. But in Western context, people want to say something. People want to be heard. That's why you always say whatever you think, and everyone also wants to listen. But at the end, everyone wants to be appreciated, and desire for belonging, and we all love our families, and it's all about human. I think when it comes to the business itself, I could see that, I'm sorry. I think compared to the previous conversation, there should be no countries that think to be more superior or more inferior. Because basically, maybe we just don't know the other people's culture. Maybe we just don't know what's the other country's culture. And in terms of business, we need to really go to the country itself. We need to go there, we need to be there to really understand what they are thinking, what they are doing, in order to make your business last and successful. That's what I learned from my perspective. I think I forgot to say, sorry, I'm sorry. This is two of the examples where we were there. So there was the 11/11 days, it was single days. It's like Black Friday in Europe. So a lot of discounts there, and I bought one gift, which I mean it's 150 yuan, 149. Before it's almost 300 yuan. The interesting part is that I bought that today. Let's say that I bought that today, but I received that 15 hours later, which means I bought in the midday, then I got that in the next afternoon. Which is, I think that is fantastic, because that's never happened here in Sweden so far. If I order something online, I'll get that maybe in 1 week. But in China, I got that in less than 24 hours. That's actually the reflection of the speed that Chinese people want. They want service, they want something fast, and they want also to give the best service of their company. So I got that really fast. And this one is the real estate company that we visited when we were there. If you can see, there are a lot of the miniature of the buildings. It's basically a huge complex where there are malls, schools, houses, apartments, 2 big parking area, and everything. It's actually reflecting to the collectivism of the Chinese people as well. We want to have Asia. We want to have everything in one place, and it's easier for you, and you can do everything in the same place. Which in Western culture, I think it's all a bit separated. A lot of places separated by each other, but in Chinese context, we just want to have everything in one place. So it's also design collectivism itself. So yeah, I forgot to study. Thank you.
So next up.
Yes,
Malte.
I will continue with building relations in China. Personally, my name is Malte, I'm from Germany, and I have been in China twice. Last year I studied at Shanghai International Studies University and now at Shanghai Jiangxi University. And currently I write my master's thesis about China as well, so I really am interested in China and I can imagine to work in China as well. So for me it was really important to join a MICE program in order to build up relations, in order to have a good basement for my future. So when I joined a MICE program, of course I was interested in international academic skills, but my main focus was building up relationships. You know maybe the term guangxi, so it's the relationship between people, and this was something which I want to study for my own by different activities. So I want to understand doing business in China in order to understand the Chinese business culture, learning basic Mandarin, and building up, as I said, long-lasting relationships in China. And now I will tell you some stories about that. Yes. Here you can see some activities which I did in China. So of course I have studied at Jiangxi University. We, as Mike said, we have visited several companies, Swedish companies in China and incubator visits. But during my free time, I have spent a lot of time with Chinese people to understand their mindset and to discover and travel with Chinese and taking pictures and having a lunch with them to understand how they are acting and thinking and building up trust with them. So we had some Chinese culture courses at the campus, and where we understand the Chinese history and the culture, the fashions. This was quite interesting for us. And during my free time as well, I joined some events. Here, the Swedish Chamber of Commerce, and they are offering, for example, the Christmas party where the Western people are coming together and celebrate Christmas. But for me, it was more important to meet Western people in China. What is their motivation? How they are overcoming cultural differences. And from my personal experience, it was really interesting to see from people from different industries how they are acting or operating in China. And my personal highlight has been in Guangzhou. I have played for the German team, it's a national team, yes, but it's not like Jost Klose or Yoga Löw. All these players are doing business in China. They are working for companies or they're doing their own business as an entrepreneur. And one of these guys has offered me a job in China. So it's really important to meet people in order to grasp your opportunities. And this was for me a really good highlight to discover China in total and meeting different people from different countries. And this was a good part. How I act in China. Here you can see my recommendation when you haven't been in China. It's really important that you show admiration, that you are being really thankful for being here, and that you show respect to the person. And then they will offering you much opportunities as you couldn't maybe imagine. So it's really important to be open-minded and to ask questions and don't be shy. It's a really huge country, but we have all the Chinese. In order to understand the mindset, we have to survive. Everyone has to survive. You have to understand how they are acting, and then if you taking your opportunities and building up trust, then you're getting further and further and further. And this was a really good step for myself to travel through the country. Having dinner, taking pictures, exchange gifts, all these things, small things, but to build up trust, and this was for me a really good learning outcome. And the last, Lasse said it, I'm maybe the expert about WeChat. I use WeChat for everything there. I have the opportunity to pay with WeChat. It's much convenient as here in Europe, and to meeting friends. Always when I meet friends here in China, I took them on my WeChat account, because you don't know, maybe these people can help you in different situations. And so you have to be, in Europe, it's not the option maybe to take always the mobile phone number, but in China you have to take this option, because you never met this person again maybe. Yes, last but not least, what did I learn? Building up and maintain my UMC network. On the one hand, it's important to build up your network, but on the other hand, it's really important to maintain, to have a really good conversation with them on WeChat and ask how they are going, what is about the Chinese New Year, about the birthday, different events. So fresh up your network, otherwise they will forget you, and then it's nothing for you, because it's about trust, it's about relations, and this is really important that you maintain your machine network. Managing job opportunities, as I said, there are several opportunities for my life now, and I will discover these after my studies. I learned some basic Mandarin, so I try now during my studies, of course, to fresh up my Mandarin. I guess this can be in order to the one by one road, could be a good opportunity as well to learn Mandarin. Understanding the Chinese values, such as trust, faith, and appreciation, using WeChat as a payment and communication platform, and last but not least, as many of you said already, you have to be in China to do business and to understand their mindset. So now I want to, Andrea has done business in China, and she will tell her story now to the next chapter.
Hello everyone, thanks to be here. My name is Andrea Otalvaro. I'm coming from Colombia. So before I tell you what did I do in China, I wanted to tell you why did I do that I'm going to explain here. 2 years back, I was talking with a friend of mine in Dublin. We were figuring out how to be millionaires. No, it's not true. We were just thinking like, how to, what business create, what we can sell, what product can give us money to create our own e-commerce business. He was working at that time in Google, and then he showed me statistics about the bestseller products in Amazon and eBay. And then we found out that one of those products were those suitcase cabin bags. There are a lot of companies that are selling, and actually it's a good product to sell and could give us some profit. So we were thinking like, why we don't start business selling suitcases, and mostly for those travelers like me and some of you that are trying to put all your wardrobe inside a bag and still fit on the Ryanair size standards. It's very important to find the best bag possible. And then we had that business idea. It was just like, talking, and then we started contacting some suppliers in China. It was very easy. You can do it through Google, Bing, even paying memberships on AliExpress and those e-commerce companies, platforms that China had, to find suppliers for whatever you want. So that's the why I did what I did in China. After I finally got my visa, that my professor can tell you all that process of getting it, I called my friend and I told him, hey, I'm going to China. Cool, right? And he said, yeah, super. And I said, yeah, but you know, I'm thinking that it's gonna be a little bit boring just going there for studies and then just like going to lectures. Why I don't do something else? And he told me, hey, why you don't visit those suppliers that we have contact online? And I was like, yeah, that could be a good idea. And this is what I did. So I'm going to tell you about 2 things I did, and then I visit 3 suitcases suppliers. There was COQBY and Kunwood. And then I also did this other visit that was mostly, that was not about my business idea, but it was mostly my former boss from a company I was working in Ireland. So through Facebook that I was in China. And then he called me and told me, Andrea, do you think you can go to one logistic company in behalf of the company, contact them, make a relationship, start a relationship with them, and then can you please check the goods that we are sending from China to Mexico? And then I said, yeah, of course. Where is it? And then he sent me the address, he sent me papers, and I was. If you want to know a little bit more about this other activity, I can tell you. But then, now I will focus on those 2 visits. Yes. Okay, so these 2 suppliers, I visit, those are suitcase suppliers. Back in Dublin, we didn't design the suitcase we wanted, but we wanted to of course have the best suitcase possible with a good price and all those dreams that you have as an entrepreneur. And then we have something in mind, but then when I visit those companies, I just wanted to see what they have to offer in China. How was the facilities, how was they making the products, what products they can offer me, because of course I'm not going to tell you my idea, but I better picture what they have to offer. And then I want to show you a video of one of the visits, so you can see that it was true. How can I play?
Just press it up.
Ah, okay.
I guess should be running.
So this was,
No, it's not open.
no, it's not music. So that visit I did with Suci, she was with me, and then we visited 2 companies. This is one of the companies, and then we were there. Before coming to visit them, we have been talking to them by email and WeChat as well. We have sent them specifications of an idea what we wanted. We have sent pictures, we have sent ideas, and we told them this is something like we wanted. But then when we were at the company, they started to show us the facilities. They were super proud of all this they want. But then he said, okay, but where is the bag that we are looking for? And they were like, yeah, you know, what do you want for lunch? And we were, yeah, we can, yeah, something. And they said, okay, let's go for lunch first. This was like that. And then we went for lunch, and then we started discussing in the table, and we started discussing at the table about what we think about China, how is the journey going. They were more interested in our personal personality or thinking that in our business idea in that part of the moment. Then when we have dinner, when we get to know each other, when we start a personal relationship, then we came back to the business. And this is how they manage that. And then, yeah, we were there, and then finally they got the bag that we were looking for. That is, yeah, it was something special that we were looking for. It was not just a simple bag like those that showed there. And then we started to talk about the design and how many, if they could provide us those products, those settings that we wanted to have in the back of our dreams and so on. And they started to say, yeah, we can do this, we cannot do this, we can provide this, we cannot change it, it's going to be too expensive. And then I visited the other company that was more specialized in those kind of bags, which was a better visit, I must say, because they really do the OTM for those big companies, bag companies, suitcases in companies in China, in Europe, and then it was much better. Then this is, you see, this is. I just wanted to show you like the bag that they were offering us. So if you want to know, this is one of quotation as a proof that we were talking about business. But then I wanted to share the learning outcomes of those 2 visits. And I have divided into this block and this other block. This, you can do it in Europe, you can do it from here, you don't need to be in China. But if you want to get here, yes, you have to travel there. Because back in Dublin, with my friend, we find the suppliers, as I say, on the platforms, no problem. We might contact them. We follow up the conversations always by email because it's impossible to talk to them. Sometimes they don't speak English and they will understand what you want. Then we send RFQ, we receive quotation. But when it came to visit the supplier, to touch your product, that was a different history. Because when we received the quotation, everything looks like they had. But when we were there, they didn't. You see? So imagine if you place an order with a product that you haven't seen, and then when it comes to your facilities, it's not what you wanted. So that was a risky situation, and that was like I thought, imagine if my idea was more mature and then it happened, it's not gonna be good for my business. And then foster a good conversation. You can never foster a good conversations on email. But maybe some people, but we didn't. So you need to be face to face with Malte explain.
Yeah, or we should.
Yeah, but you know, like, I don't know those texting skills some people have, but I mean, I think for me it's better to talk. Yeah. So we were there, and then Suci and me, that we visited those companies, we were there, and then we, as I say, they got to know us, what we were studying, if they were, they trust us somehow. They knew that our idea was real, that we are not faking and only just sending emails to everyone. So they were interested. Okay, how do you come up with this idea? Why? Have you do market research? So on and so forth. And that's what is important, to be in China, to foster a good conversation and to start a business relationship. And then I will never go back to any business meeting without an interpreter because it's, oh my God, it's impossible. It was so difficult. Sometimes it was like an awkward moment, silence, and then I said, what do you want for dinner? Okay, rice. So it was like that. And imagine, only to talk about food is with the translator. Imagine to talk about business. Who does that? I mean, so that's where interpreter is important. But my main learning outcome, when I was there, I realized that what I was still thinking to manufacture bags in China, when I have all this population and all this big market to create something to sell them. And that's it. Thank you very much. These are the suitcase companies 1, suitcase companies 2, and those are the logistic companies. And this is when I check the container loading that I told you. Yeah, questions?
You'll take them at the end.
I am sorry.
Absolutely fine. Okay, so I will close up with the academia and kind of going back to the BRI conversation. Now I see that my 2 questions got deleted with the slide. Okay, so we're going to wing it. I have...
They should come.
Oh, not there.
Okay.
Anyway, that's fine. I was going to ask you, to take you in the room. What is the temperature in China like right now? How warm is it in China right now?
Yeah, everything.
Where in China?
Thank you. I've got the experts here. I was hoping for more.
40 degrees.
Absolutely. Thank you. And what's the food like in China?
Depends on where you are.
Very good. You can have everything from Sichuan spices, where you want to rip out your mouth afterwards because everything hurts after eating a Sichuan hot pot. Or you can go to Qingdao, where you have a lot of seafood, totally different culture. I mean, when I was there at the homestay where I was staying, and he was eating like a raw squid right in front of me in one bite, it just takes some time to get used to. But it depends. I think that's one thing when you don't know much about China, it's what you always tend to generalize. Like it's the same with India. I was in India for 7 months, and For me, coming to India, everything's like, it's hot, everybody eats the same food, and then you go to the country and you experience the diversity, and in China, it's completely, it's about the same. It's very different to understand from the outside, so you have to be there to really understand what it is all about.
Have you had a cow belly in Chengdu?
I had brain in Chengdu, but I didn't know that I had brain until afterwards, which was probably better. So for all these that don't know, I usually eat vegetarian, so that was even worse. Anyway, what was my goal when I came to China? So first of all, why I chose Halmstad was because of the China exchange. I had the opportunity to study in Istanbul, went to India, went to New Zealand before, so went to many different countries, experienced those cultures, but I never got to spend so much time in China. And I thought, okay, that's a good opportunity to do that during studies. And since I academia quite a lot, and then you get those practical insights, which when you study entrepreneurship is kind of good to hear about. The China program definitely offered that. So it was a combination out of lectures, as Mike showed you before, for 3 days, very intensive with homework in the evenings, so you really understand what Chinese students go through when you come back from lectures in the late evening. You study all the way until night, you get up in the morning at 7 to be there the first one at breakfast, because at 7 or 10 it's completely full with people and you can forget to eat anything, and then you have to rush to lectures. And then you have those company visits that range from Chinese companies, Chinese incubators, sorry, small incubators, to Western countries that operate in China. And I mean, through Andrea, we had the chance to get to know Volvo, being in the representative office in Shanghai with a view over the Bund, talking to them, talking to Apex strategy, what they are doing, how they're approaching business in China. So very interesting. And getting this Chinese understanding, or understanding what China, especially the innovation strategy, is all about. I think when you come from Europe, you really get a filtered idea about what China's really like. There's like this one-party state, kind of dictatorship-like, and that's how they manage their people. And then you get over there, and it's just completely different. I remember arriving in Beijing at the middle of the night, 2 a.m. I should have done it back in India, then I would have actually reached my place where I was staying back then. And I didn't know what to do. I only knew nobody could speak English. You have to have everything translated already from the beginning. So I got that. Got into the taxi and I was so afraid, like, okay, they're going to be stray dogs, nobody will understand, I will never find my hostel where I was going to stay. And everything was safe. Completely quiet city, 3 a.m. in the morning, nothing was happening, it was really quiet. I found everything, everyone was nice. I was like, okay, that's so much different from what I would have expected. So there was something, it just really opened my eyes. It was the other side of the coin that you never experienced before. And then you go there and you see what it's all about. And why did I mention specifically Chinese innovation strategy? Because in certain aspects, which we think we are so far ahead when it comes to sharing business models, leasing bikes and so on, we think, okay, this is going to be, in 5 to 10 years, we're all going to lease cars, we're not going to own cars. They're already a step ahead. They already passed the bike sharing model. That's like snow from yesterday for them. They understood that you need to have ethics in these types of business models, because if you go to Chengdu, you can sometimes not even exit the subway stations because there's so many bikes in front of the subway stations that you can go for 100 meters and there will be bikes in 3 rows parked, and some of them have not been moved for probably 3 years. Then you understand, okay, they are a lot further ahead than we are, with a pace that is just unbelievable to see. I think it was really good, the program, which I will always recommend to the students that are here. I mean, it really sets, you know, when you think of a cake, it really is one piece of that cake that it sets for you. It sets the foundation for you to kind of get a different perspective about what China is really like. I would never say that I'm now an expert on China, definitely not, but I at least got a few insights, valuable insights in what China is like, and that was definitely good. You can really be there, I mean, with where the program is now heading and with the potential the program has, to be very entrepreneurial in that safe environment that you have there on campus. And you can definitely get a different understanding about what business modeling is all about, how technologies are managed in China, which is a lot different. They are a lot more visual, they have a plan, they know where they want to go. They're not talking about, okay, we want to implement 5G. They're already, okay, when we have 5G, that can be used for autonomous driving. So, okay, we're going to set up a test range on the longest bridge we just built to test all of this, and then we can test 5G with it, and yeah, then we see how this is going. So this trial by error culture that they have over there is something where we always try to get this everything perfectly planned, and then we execute. And then obviously it always doesn't go. I mean, when you think of any infrastructural project in Germany that has been on time and on price, it has never happened, at least when you ask me. And in China it's just a lot different, because they just, if something fails, okay, it fails, we learn something from it, we move on. What I would recommend to all the students when you go over there, set yourself some goals when you go over there, manage your expectations and really embrace the culture. Don't try to go over there and be like, okay, I know everything, don't ever say that you're better than something over there, because you really feel, when you have no battery on your phone, you're lost in China. And then you realize how much you are depending on other people, and that you then trying to communicate with people. Try to buy a SIM card in China without a translator. That's quite an experience. And then you realize, okay, now I'm lost. I depend on those people to help me. And it was definitely one of the experiences there. Kind of now going back to the Belt and Road Initiative, or what the takes were from academia that we learned over there. To give you some insights, we were at the Swedish Chambers of Commerce, and we got a lot of insights on the European take on the Belt and Road Initiative there, and worked a little bit on it. And you really understand the not only business opportunity that it brings with it, but the new approach on supporting countries and so on, not just by only economical means, but I mean, of course the Chinese are very smart when they do it with the infrastructure they're building, which creates usually an algae environment, the economic prosperity, and leads to that. But it also is, when you go over to China, their infrastructure is just on a different level. I mean, all the high-speed trains are on bridges everywhere. The amount of concrete they're building and using is something you have to see to believe it. Understand the Chinese perspective about the Road Initiative. I mean, we always say get into the shoes of the other person and try to look at it from the outside, and that is really crucial, I think, when you want to understand the Belt and Road Initiative, and not always be like, okay, this is the European perspective, but really try to embrace the other Chinese and what they are trying to achieve with it. The change is coming with the Belt and Road Initiative. I think we can see it over the past years, especially since in the USA a certain president has been in power, that while we have moved towards populism and protectionism, the Chinese are going into the complete opposite way and are embracing globalization and getting their rightful place in the world where they should be based on the economy they have, and also establishing their way of doing business, which where at least I think our way of doing business, especially in Africa, might have not led to the prosperity of the continent that we would have hoped, or that we would have liked. And the Chinese approach is a lot different, considering from where they came from 30 years ago until where they are now. It's just a speed we've never seen before. The speed of innovation in China and the connection is something you have to see to believe it. I mean, here I'm a co-founder of a startup in Germany, and I've been for 1 year discussing with our founder to implement a forum in the application. And when we go to China, we went to one company which developed a news application for the biggest 100 cities. So you can have live feed with your camera and take videos on it if there's something happening, and you can share it on the platform, and it crawls all the information from other media channels, displays and all the relevant information for your city. And so he was telling us then, we were like, okay, interesting, but what else is there? Can you show us what else is there? And he's like, okay. So they have a platform, they also have like kind of an eBay in there, you can file all your taxes, you can pay your speeding bills, everything in one platform. Oh yeah, and there's the social media capabilities, and you can link it to your WeChat, and you can pay with that. We're like, okay, that's quite a lot. So yeah, when did you start? Yeah, in 2017. We're like, okay, so you built this entire application in 1 year. And yeah, like, yeah, and the other thing is they only have around 60 million users, so they're quite small. And yeah, it's just different proportions you have to experience over there. China's global presence will increase undoubtedly in the coming years, and it is up to us to kind of take it up and see what we make out of it. For companies that go over there, don't lose the sweetness. I think it was one of the takes we got when we visited the Swedish companies, that they always keep some Swedish people there to have that sweet, or at least some sense of the Swedish culture there. When you go to IKEA in China, it looks like IKEA. So the culture is still in there. And plan, ask a lot of questions, and stay on the ground. Don't ever be too enthusiastic about certain things over there. Always try to ask questions and understand the real situation. I want to finish off with a quote. Who knows who Gustav Heinemann is? Gustav Heinemann. He was the third president of my country, Germany, from 1969 to 1974. And he said back then, which I think is very, very relevant right now, the one who does not want to change will also lose what he tries to preserve. And I think that's something, especially after talking with the previous speaker about geopolitical thinking, goes for that kind of stream of thinking, that can definitely not lead to prosperity. So, questions, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Please, questions. When you listen to them, you realize they are the future.
Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked. It's a cultural shock. You never hear this kind of discussion in Sweden. Although I'm very positive to the Belt and Road, but this is a completely different level, and I really appreciate it.
I would even push it. The future for us is not on this side of the audience, it's on this side of the audience.
So they have got it.
Yeah, we have them. We have them, and the one is sitting over there that is also with us.
All of you.
And this is what we want to achieve, to let young students that are not destroyed by the traditional way of thinking, to explore something new and learn something new from scratch. And changing the mindset from thinking we manufacture in China to
Sell to
we
China.
sell to China. Changing mindset. Very good. Please, questions? Comments?
One question that we maybe can take after. Can we have a photo of all of us?
Can we?
Can we have a photo of all of us there in the front with the students?
10 crowns.
Each.
I have to think of my life tomorrow. Of course we can.
Well, one thing that it is totally unusual is to hear your experience as young people, how fast things are moving. You know, coming from New York, I remember the time when New York was, you know, the city that never sleeps. But I see this kind of activity from your experiences that never really comes through, which is you see how fast things are moving, and yet the pace of how people here are absorbing things is like they're two different universes.
You have to consider, like, in where China came from in 30 years, and when I have to teach my grandfather how to use a mobile phone, over there they have to use it, even if they are that age group. They have to use it because everything is on mobile phone. And I mean, it's what we really learned over there is like Europe will probably most likely just be the first follower in certain new things, with China taking the lead.
Yeah, and if you think in Sweden, you know, maybe if you've met somebody, you don't get their name, maybe you'll see them again. The chances to see the same person again, forget it. If you don't make the contact, it's over. So it's
But what you also see here is they come to Sweden to study in China. It's a quite unique opportunity that we are giving students. I don't know anybody giving this kind of 2 months training. There are many offering 1 week or maybe 2 weeks, more traveling than learning. But to learn basic business about China in China, that is about 2 months what you need to do, and then do practice. But look around you. Corina from Germany, Lasse from Germany, Andrea from Colombia, Suci, Indonesia, and Malte, Germany. That tells you something about how the world looked like we had only one Swedish student this year. And last year we had
And the Belgian.
And Belgium, we have a Belgian guy and so on. Yes, this is an international mix. It's fantastic to spend 2 months with these guys, talking to them from different countries. I learn from them. Suddenly students become my teachers to give me perspectives on this. How many times have I heard me start talking to Suci about, Suci, you're from Indonesia, compare China to Indonesia. And I learn about Asia. And that means this kind of Belt and Road initiative is covering many of those countries our students come from. And we have a PhD student over there from Pakistan, Bangladesh. Pakistan, oh my God, he's my PhD student. I should know better. Sorry, my apologies.
See that.
No. I always make mistakes. So this is one of the best things of being professor at the university.